Hi, everybody. I'm gonna have to let my dog in a few minutes, but whenever he whenever he scratches at the door. but I was watching a YouTube channel earlier called Silent East. Just now, what was I watching? We got a windy day out, so I'm not doing anything. I'm just hanging around the house again. My cat got out of bed. Just got out of bed. I guess he's going over to see me. There's a YouTube channel called Silent East, and it's a Russian guy, and he talks about like the mindset of how like Putin just needs to stay in power. And I was like, I started to think about immigrants, and I was at how people are, or at how in Canada people are becoming more and more dissatisfied with the number of immigrants in the country. And I said, just how does that help these people? And honestly, I think my monolithic view could be wrong of the world. I think maybe our political leaders of Canada, or maybe Canada's not much different than Russia. It actually may be. Maybe it's just the financial system is a one world thing. Because if you think about our world leaders and how immigrants help them, well, what are their goals? Their goals are to stay in power and get rich, right? Like the goals of our politicians are not to serve the country or to be great men, to make a positive mark on history so much. It's to stay in power, and in order to stay in power, you need to be needed. Oh, hold on though. Yeah, it doesn't really matter which party it is. So the party thing is is a song and dance. All right, that's a song and dance. You don't get ruled over by parties. Whoever it is that rules Canada rules it from behind the scenes. But they need you. They need to be needed. That's the one thing they need. They need you to need them. And so by importing a million people a year into the country and driving people into homelessness, they create a crisis. And it's a crisis that we as Canadians didn't address as a community or as people. We turned to the government, right? Like we're turning to the government. Now the government's like, okay, we got to build houses and we have to do all these things, right? And so the government starts creating initiatives to solve the problem that they created. And regardless of how your life is going to be affected by it, they stay in power, right? I don't know who actually is behind the power structure, but I can tell you that if Pierre Polyev becomes prime minister, it doesn't make any actual difference. It's not like, as long as one of them is prime minister, as long as somebody's prime minister, everything's fine, right? Does not. It doesn't matter, It doesn't matter which political party is in power, as long as the people have a perception that the political parties are in power, is what matters. The perception, because I don't think that's not where power. That's not like where power is. Or that's not like if the people no longer believed, if the people no longer needed the government, right? And need, by saying you need the government, I don't mean well, your perception, in your perception, because your perception creates your reality. And so if we perceive that you need somebody to correct problems for you, you do. Dependent, and the system needs dependency. It needs us to be dependent on it. That's that's the me. That's what it absolutely needs. It needs our dependence, and to an extent, we are each every one of us is dependent on the system to one extent or another. Uh, but we can become less dependent. Like I'd say, the only people that aren't that aren't dependent on the system but still engage with it are the Amish. Right? They make every dollar that they can make, and uh, work as hard as they can. But if society, if the lights go off tomorrow, it's going to make very little difference to them. If the economy collapses, their lifestyle will still not be very different, because they provide the necessities to themselves. And that's kind of how I see. I admire that. I admire that. That's the way I think people should go about trying to. Well, is that a paranoid thing or what? I don't know. But like when people say that AI is going to take the jobs and that's a good thing, you don't have to work anymore. Like that's not. We shouldn't want that. Like work is good. Work is good. Right? Most people are not going to write operas or you know even books or anything else. Honestly, and without without the need to, without some kind of a job to do, like it's going to be a crisis if that even happens. I don't know. I don't know how much faith I have in AI or how much I. Well, that's one thing, man. The astral plane, like everything, every possibility has to exist. Anything that you can conceive of has to exist in the astral plane. And if it exists in the astral plane, it has to be. It must be possible to build it here. It is like everything is. So I mean, everything's possible. Everything's possible. Not even just to build it, but like everything is possible. This world is not. It can't be. It's not real. It just looks like it is. It just seems like it is. It's like you're born into it and you can sense it. I started to wonder. I had the thought. I was wondering. I was like, what about like what if it is a super realistic AI, basically video game, virtual reality, and you're just like plugged into it, and the whole thing's a test to watch you while you're in here. You know what I mean? What if that's what life really is? Because it is strange that everything's just electricity. We might experience this as glass and this over here is wood, but the only difference between glass and wood is the number of electrons in the atom. So it's like it just seems to be electricity. And honestly, the smartphone, like nothing, never in my life did I think like that I would have all the knowledge of humankind I could look up and Google on my phone at any time. You know what I mean? Like you just go in here, we can look at I can look up the answer to anything in here. I can use this as like the most powerful tool. Like I have used this, all my knowledge of herbal medicines and wild edible foods and stuff, all my plant knowledge and my mushroom knowledge all comes from this. If it wasn't for this, I never would have been able like to learn mushrooms and wild edible foods to the extent that I have. You know, you can learn how to play guitar from this thing. I'm gonna learn how to play guitar through my phone. I have learned I've been clearing land. I'm a lumberjack now, you know, and I've learned from my phone. I watched videos all last winter of lumberjacking, and then I got a chainsaw and started getting equipment, started working, and now I'm kind of a lumberjack clearing my own land. That's what I want to tell people about, man. Like your outer reality will always match your inner reality. And like it really is like I read so much like self-help stuff telling me like law of attraction stuff. And it's like it, it's like it's true. But not but then you have to, you know, but I've spent like the last like at least 15 years trying to figure out, okay, well, why is it true? Right? Like why is it that like anything you can envision you could just have, right? Or anything that anything you can conceive in your mind, it can be brought into existence. You know why? How is this? Like I'll tell you, like in your destiny, there are things that you will need that are just going to be there. I'll take as an example, like my tractor. I couldn't have done my logging without a tractor with a front end loader on it. My dad got it uh, to do the driveway here, um, and barely used it before he died. He used it a few times before he died. It was a lot. It was just too much for him. But then it was here when I got here. It's like shit. like I have I have the tractor that allows me to clear land and it allows me to run my sawmill, and it's going to allow me to have like a farm eventually in the future. Like it'll all just happen, you know. Like that's the thing is like the things that are just meant to happen, or like things that are like in your destiny in the future. They're just gonna be there, and it's not like this world is so weird that way. Like there's objects just waiting for you in your timeline. They're just like somebody's just gonna will them to you, or some circumstance is gonna happen, and then all of a sudden you get something, and turns out you need it for something else. And like, I don't know. Since I started looking at my life as like the fingerprints of God, it's like I do. I look at it as that. I look at it as like the fingerprints of God, because there is like a guide in your life. Like I found anyway that like even when I was like in my most lost and like suffering, like it was just that was kind of like that was correction, right? It was karma, but karma karma hurts in a way that's supposed to teach you. And if it's hurting too much, it means you're like way the hell off from where you're supposed to be. That's what I mean. Like all these old occultists and stuff, like Aleister Crowley saying, "Do what thou wilt" should be the whole of the law. And it's like I kind of see it like that too. Like you have a will, a divine will. It's like this is like when your soul incarnated into this body. There's a story that's there's a story and a purpose, a direction for that being. That's what I mean. I don't really believe in a physical world. I believe in a physical representation of a spiritual world, I would say. That's what I would say. I believe in it. I believe this is a physical representation of the spiritual world, and it's like it's a just a piece of it. But even the astral world has to be divided in some kinds of sections, right? Because both the most negative things in the world or the negative thoughts that have ever been thought must exist there. Also, the most heavenly thoughts must also exist in there too. So you have, so it must also there must also be sections to it, right? Because you couldn't have a place of like high, like it's got to be infinite too. And that's the thing. It must be equal to this. This is also infinite though. We're just in a small piece of it. We're just in a small piece of what, or shit, that would be a hard thing to explain. And we're in a small piece of it. Every possibility, well, first off, past, present, future are all the same thing, right? But we experience time as linearly, and we experience it as being something separate from space. And we know that from space, physics, they call it space time from physics point of view. But from like experience, we don't experience it as the same thing, right? And we only experience time in one direction. But if we can travel in different directions in space, and space is time, then we should equally be able to travel into the past or into the future. Like, you know what I mean? But we don't. We travel from the past into the future. I think it's all kind of like, to me, it feels like a story. Like you're living a story and you're experiencing it, but it's like a story already written. And you get out of character, the story kicks your ass a little bit. Then you get back in, then you start coming into character. But it's like weird because I also find it like you always find the right information when you need to, right? Like I get lost, but like the more lost I get, the more God kind of helps me. Well, I call it God, but and that's kind of a way to relate with like Christians, right? Because I do want to relate with Christians. I like Christians. I think Christians are good-hearted people, but I don't think most of them realize that God is the world around them. Well, I got my dog in. Oh my old boy. Okay, let's get a treat. Let's get a treat, old buddy. I don't have any treats left. You gotta wait for your money to get back so we can get you more treats. I'll just give you these salmons. I'll give you salmon treats. Oh boy. Oh my god. See, what sucks about that is that I forget what the heck I was just talking about. Oh, Christianity, Christians, something about Christians. Oh, I believe Christians have a good heart, but what I would like for them to know is because if you believe, like I think that if your spirituality begins and ends in a book, then you kind of miss out on the experience of wonderment that is God, the God that's around you all the time. Like see the way I see it, I see everything as God. Like for me, my view of God is the whole universe. All of it's God. Reality is God. Um, so it's even like so there's the astral plane, which I think the cosmos is the physical astral plane. And there's different possibilities existing in different times all over the place. I think there's space and time. So I think one reason why we don't find alien life is when we look out into space, we're looking at the past. But as so we're looking like so the nearest star system we can see, we're seeing as it existed millions of years ago. And even then, a lot of it might have had life. Like there's probably life existing in this universe. This has been around for billions of years, which actually infinite. Like all possibilities probably exist within this universe. Maybe not in the same frequency or bandwidth that's here, because also every possible timeline has to also exist too. Like because it could exist. Like there has to be an existence of it somewhere. And I guess if the physical world, because it seems to me anything in this world is equally possible to anything that's in the astral world. And I know that seems to be like a huge claim to make. I know it seems to be a huge claim. I imagine a lot of people think that's probably like a huge claim, but it's not. Like the smartphone, that's what I wanted to talk about. It's hard for me to organize my thoughts in a way. And this is what I'm kind of doing with this anyway. Maybe I can just by speaking out loud, uh, practicing trying to organize my thoughts, I might one day be able to organize them. But who knows? Because there's infinite thoughts, and it's hard to ever say anything for sure. Like I really don't know anything about anything. Like I am, like you know what I mean. I don't know anything. All I can know is what has to be. Not even what has to be. What is the astral plane? Like, why does there have to be an astral plane? Because thought is completely intangible. There is a place where thought happens. And we experience it here. It's invisible, but it occurs and it exists. But it does not exist in 3 dimensions. It is not something we can touch. And so it must exist somewhere else. Okay. And we're like an interface of it. It's the thing. We are. Though that's exactly what we are. Even the people right now who are developing AI, like, if you can conceive of it, it's possible. And so now, you know what I mean? And having a plan, it's going to it has to happen. Fuck, I can't. It's amazing to be at this point in human history right now. At this point, I think it's amazing because I know that there are futures where I know there are futures where humanity does some beautiful things. I know there's some horrible futures. There's everything has to exist somewhere. And it is all one. It all comes from the astral plane. None of us exist. See, we all were born here into this world from the astral plane. and we go back to the astral plane after we die. And that's the reality of it. We do reincarnate here. Time doesn't exist, man. So, like, in this period of time, you will always exist. You know what I mean? So, like, at this moment in 2016, whatever time and date it is, I will always be doing this. It's just that we look at it like you can't go back in time or forward in time, but that's like a perception that we have. I don't think that's going to stay like that, because it doesn't intuitively make sense. Why time is, we can only experience time going one way. And that might just be because we're moving so far around the sun, so the orbit, and so that's how we're experiencing time. I don't know. There's going to be I believe there'll be explanations or understandings later on in the future. I think our understanding of space time is where we're going to actually get to travel in space time. You know what I mean? That's what I believe. I believe there's going to be some crazy understandings of space time. It seems to me like what exists always, well, there's an infinite possibility at any given second, and the only thing that we experience is like, it's like Schrodinger's cat. The cat is dead and it's alive until you look. Right? This is like, what if it was like 8.5 billion people on this planet? All possibilities that are equally possible? No. There's huge difference in probability between different things. Right? There's a huge difference in probability between different events. But anything possible has to be possible. That possibility exists in some way. Maybe not here in a physical way, but it exists here as a possibility. You know what I mean? What is a possibility? Did you ever contemplate that? What is a possibility? A possibility, you know? So, like, it is an eventual future with some probability of occurring. What's an impossibility then? So, an impossibility is the opposite, basically, but is anything impossible? It can't be. It is not possible that there's any impossible thing. It's all possible. Everything has to be possible. If you can think it, you should be able to build it. Or it should be possible. Hold on, no. So let's talk about fire-breathing dragons then, right? So this is a conception. It does not exist, nor has it existed any way that I'm aware of during his history or human. Hey, which country? Oh shit! This is Canada. I was talking more about how I began this thing. I kind of just started ranting, but I was talking about how the goals of our political leaders is to keep the system in power, right? Like, our political leaders, they don't care. Right on. Yeah, they don't care about us. They don't care about the people. Actually, no political leaders do. Like, they're it's a puppet show. It's Our political parties don't have actual power, and they'll make decisions, and they don't care if we vote them out of power, just so long as somebody gets voted into power, right? They only care so long as somebody is in power, because keeping the system in place is the goal. And in order to keep and what the system fears is relevancy, not being needed. It fears, and so this is why you got the mass immigration thing. This is the point of mass immigration. It doesn't matter if it causes discontent among the citizens, so long as it creates a problem that the citizens need the government to fix. The government is relevant, and so it doesn't even matter if we get voted out because because they get voted out because the people are displeased with them. You're still voting in another government from the same group of people, group of cronies, actors. They're actors. They're all actors. Anyway, but yeah, I just started with that and got back into the astral plane stuff. I like the astral plane stuff. I don't know, why is it that I exist in a reality with this governing body here? And I would say a fake democracy. Well, I guess I've been told that before. Mankind is not capable of governing themselves. Well, our governments don't care if they get voted out of power. They don't care. It's just a circus back and forth. They remain relevant. They get their names in the history books. Nobody ever really thinks about anything. But even that's why I don't like to call either side. That's why I don't like politics. I don't like politics. I don't like politicians. I think the whole thing's a smokescreen. I really do. Maybe there is, but it wouldn't make sense, because then liberals, because, like all the homeless people are making the liberals unpopular, and the drained economy. Then again, we voted. Like I don't think it. A country would have actually voted them in again either. Like, I'm done voting. It's so retarded, man. I don't think they even count the votes, man. I really don't. Like, why? Like, either that or like after they literally completely destroyed the economy and threw people caused the zombie apocalypse in the cities, people vote the same party back in. Maybe they did. They're like, hey, man, ride the tiger, bro. Julius Evola. I kind of. That's my attitude towards the coming times, is ride the tiger, embrace the collapse. Find the I gotta stop. I gotta figure out how. This thing is cool. I like having I like having a little live stream here, talk to people. I guess whatever it is, you always got to go just with the flow. I was watching that and listening to something about that just the other day. Just surrender. Right? Whatever it is God puts in your way, just do it. And like, whatever's in front of you, just do that, But I've been I try to live my life that way. I do. But then I got a head up here, my ego. So instead of just keeping my mind to working, this is why I hate wintertime. The wintertime sucks for me because I'm always in the house just thinking, and I got nothing to do because the weather's so bad, right? It's like, oh man, I could If I was at my land, I could work, and I could technically get to my land, but I need my ATV, and I'd have to ride the ATV there. That's cold. So I'm kind of there's nothing to do around the house really right now till spring. Once the weather gets a bit nicer, I got work to do at my uncle's house on any decent day, but it's outside work, so if it's gonna blow your fucking ears off, it's anyway. I'm gonna be done having my little stream for today. I just had that thought about the politicians needing to keep the system relevant, and it was like, oh, my kitty, hey guy, how you doing, guy? Okay.